Hell Let Loose has a identity crisis. It is neither realistic nor an arcade game and is trying to pander to both sides, but that can only backfire. Hello everyone, my name is Burning Wiki and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about the identity crisis Hell Let Loose suffers from and what causes it. But before I get started, I would like to ask you all that if you do enjoy my content, then please subscribe. Now, let's talk about the history of Hell Let Loose and how the game started and what it promised in the Kickstarter. In the Kickstarter, we were promised a realistic platoon-based game, and in the first year or so, this was most certainly what we received. We almost all had single-shot rifles, and we played as a team, listening to the orders from the squad leader, who in turn got his orders from the commander. And the commander determined the overall tactics and strategy of the game. Also, we received regular updates almost every 2 to 3 months. The player base grew slowly but steadily, and Hell Let Loose really seemed to hit that sweet spot in the World War II shooter game market. But over time, more and more arcade-style things were introduced, like more automatic weapons being added, and the new players that came into the game did not seem to want to play in a team, but rather sit in a bush and camp all game, or exploit game glitches like getting on rooftops that players should not be able to get onto. And it seems they were more concerned about their kill-death ratio than actually working together, having fun with your squad mates and winning the game as a team. There are also less and less people using their mic and trying to communicate and working together as a team, listening to the orders passed down from the commander to the squad leader. And all of a sudden, these weird servers popped up that allowed players not to play the actual game, but to actually cheat in a weird way and construct and destroy bunkers all day long in order to gain experience and unlock the loadouts. It is weird that these new players coming into Hell Let Loose do not want to play Battlefield, but a more realistic hardcore game, and then try to change Hell Let Loose into a Battlefield. And at the same time, they don't really want to play the game as it was meant to be played, but try all sorts of manners and ways to cut corners. I never understood this. You buy a game that involves grind and an investment of time to only find silly ways around the grind and investing of time. It is not my way of doing things or playing a game, but if that is your way you want to play the game you pay for, then I guess go for it. The weird part of all this is the fact that the dev team does not seem to care. The same exploits that were in the game months, even years ago, are still in the game. Places where players should not be able to go, but still can go. Still not have been patched out the game. And in any other game, this would be considered bug or glitch abuse, but in Hell Let Loose, sloppy programming seems to be part of the gameplay and is never fixed. And thus, with all this going on, the game moved further away from being a realistic hardcore World War II shooter and is slowly being turned into an arcade-style game. To pander to these new players and to attract new, more casual gamers, this all came to a climax in the new, in my opinion, horrible Night Maps update in which the flare gun was introduced, a game mechanic ripped out of Battlefield 5 and the most unrealistic non-hardcore game mechanic I can imagine being added to Hell Let Loose. Instead of having a light in the sky on dark maps, giving the players the ability to see a bit more, it is instead a camera attached to a flare that is being shot up in the air, giving us all a satellite view of the map with all enemies marked as dots on the map. And instead of just the commander, squad leader and the support players seeing this, like the recon plane, now we all see this. It is thus far the most unrealistic game mechanic added to Hell Let Loose, and it upset a lot of veteran players. More and more veteran players are leaving the game, not passing on the way that game should be played to the new players. And since this game has no tutorial, the new players bring their CSGO and Battlefield mentality into Hell Let Loose, changing the game even more into an arcade style game. There is now even talk about removing the node system because the engineer got so dumbed down over the last few updates, and the building system being so limited and clumsy. Placing a bunker or barbed wire is a nightmare. No one wants to play this class anymore. The only thing players want that play as an engineer is the loadout with the settle charge. The new wave of players want full automatic weapons, even though this is not realistic. And the engineer, of course, is lacking these. Then there is the lack of players who want to play as a squad leader. Again, because of all the chats and communication required. The new players would rather not be the squad leader. This was always a bit of a problem, but recently it has become really bad. At the start of some games there are just 1 or 2 squads, whilst there are 50 players waiting to join one, but no one is actually making a squad. Now Hell Let Loose is finding itself having an identity crisis and its player base being split between the veteran players who want to play the game as was promised in the Kickstarter, and the new players coming into the game who want a more arcade style game. And thus Hell Let Loose falls somewhere in between. And we all know what happens if you try to please 2 totally different groups of people. And that is, they both will leave. And that is reflected in their player base numbers. So I'm here on the Steam chart and I want to show you all something that is going on for, since the game came out in 2019. And that is the fact you can actually see when the game has a free weekend or when the game is on a deep discount, and I mean a 40% discount, and that is since 2021. So we can see here the game probably went into a deep discount or a free weekend, and then they have these fantastic numbers like 1250, or a new update came out, that can be it as well. And then they have these great numbers, and then all of a sudden the game is no longer on discount and the game is simply not worth 40 euros. So then the numbers take a huge dive, and recently they have a new record in peak players, which is 18,280. But these numbers are not very genuine, because they reached 8,280 players because it was a free weekend, the game was on a 40% discount, and the new night maps came out. That meant a lot of new players came into the game, tried the game for free, which is reflected in the 8,000. Some of them bought the game at 40% discount, and a lot of old players returned to the game to check out all the new features on the night maps. And this you can obviously see, because in August they lost 278 players, 4% of their player base. And that is reflected in almost losing 6,000 players. And in the last 30 days, and mind you, as of the making of this video, and they already lost almost 1,200 players on their peak, right? So Hell Let Loose is only gaining a few new players because it is on discount every other day and with free weekends. The statistics do not lie. In my view, Hell Let Loose has a big problem, and that is the fact that it cannot hold on to its veteran player base, because there is a big lack of new content coming into the game and bugs and glitches in the game are not fixed or updated. And more arcade type game mechanics are being introduced. So these people leave to play something else. Hell Let Loose can also not hold on to the new players coming into the game because the game is not arcade enough. And the grind is too hard for them, and most of them don't like to communicate or being told what to do. Most of them just want to sit in a bush or on a rooftop with a full automatic rifle shooting everyone for the kill and death ratio and Steam awards. These are the same players that want weapon skins and scopes on every single weapon. They don't care about realism or hardcore. Hell Let Loose finds itself in a very dangerous position. It got sold for £45 million and I think Team 17 grossly overpaid for it. And now the new owners find themselves in a weird position. Regularly updating the game with new content costs more money. Putting the game on discount, gaining new players, will earn them less money, but you can sell these players DLC on the long term. A other weird thing is the fact that they are very eager to grab for their wallet for content that should already be in the game for free, under the banner of "I want to support the dev team." And that is totally misleading. Hell Let Loose is no longer a cute little Kickstarter game, nor a work of love. It is an investment made by a triple B or even a triple C publisher whose only concern is now to earn their £45 million back that they overpaid for. We can expect a lot of overpriced DLC in the future and a lot of things that should be in the base game being sold to us as paid DLC. We can also expect a even more arcade style game because a realistic hardcore game will attract only real hardcore players and not casual gamers, and there are a lot more casual gamers than hardcore realistic ones. The fact that players and even YouTubers already trying to justify unlocking the loadouts and removing the node system is a sign on the wall. I expect Hell Let Loose to lose even more players in the future, being replaced by a new wave of arcade shooter gamers. Whether or not this is a bad thing, I will leave up to the statistics and the data, but thus far, if I had invested £45 million into Hell Let Loose, I would be very worried about its future, because if the only way to gain new players is to constantly have the game on a 40% discount and not gaining new players because the game is actually worth buying for €40, then you have a problem. And if on top of that you are losing your veteran player base that has always been loyal to the game because of lack of content, and the game is turning into an arcade shooter, it is a bomb waiting to explode. In the end, if you want to pander to both the realistic and the arcade gamers, then neither will like your product, because the game will hang somewhere in between and no one will really like it but a few players, and it shows in the statistics. Let me know in the comment section how you feel about it. Give me your opinion, and if you like the video, then don't forget to leave me a like. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already, join us on our Discord and follow me on Twitter. All the links are in the description. My name is Burning Wiki, and I will see you all next time.